Analyzing Horror. My name is Lauren, and today we'll be talking about the ultimate shark masterpiece, Jaws. So one hot summer, a giant great white shark unleashes terror upon the small resort beach town of Amity Island. The new local sheriff, Brody, desperately tries to convince the mayor to close the beaches to swimmers. But with 4th of July right around the corner, the greedy mayor refuses because the town makes a lot of money on tourists over that holiday weekend. So it's ultimately up to Brody, a marine biologist, Hooper, and a local fisherman and shark expert, Quint, to hunt down and kill this ferocious beast. So this is one of my favorite movies of all time and absolutely my favorite shark movie. I just think it's an absolute masterpiece. It's just completely perfect in my eyes. I wouldn't change a thing. I was actually introduced to this movie when I was about 6 years old. And I can honestly say this is the movie that initially got me hooked on the thrill and adrenaline rush of being frightened by a movie. I know some people don't consider this to be a horror movie, but I absolutely do. And I honestly count it as my first horror movie. I was so scared of the water after watching this movie for the first time, I actually refused to go into the deep end of the neighborhood pool because I was convinced that Jaws was just sitting in there waiting for me. So yeah, I would absolutely call it a creature feature horror movie. I also can honestly say that this movie initially sparked my interest in sharks. I just think they're fascinating creatures and I love learning about them as well as their evolution. I'm also a huge fan of Megalodon and I just think that their evolution is incredibly fascinating and just the way they work as animals, and I just love sharks so much, and I can absolutely say that Jaws was the beginning of that. So fair warning, I'm going to be talking about the storyline and some spoilers, so if you haven't seen the movie yet, make sure to pause, go watch the movie, and come back afterwards. Although if you haven't seen Jaws yet, what are you doing? Alright, so let's get into my thoughts on Jaws. I'd like to start off by talking about performances and some of my favorite characters. First off, I really loved Roy Scheider as Brody. I really loved him as our lead character. I thought he balanced stoic but lovable at the same time, and I just thought he was a really great sheriff as well. I liked being able to follow him along on that journey, talking to the mayor and discovering the bodies and stuff like that. I just thought following a sheriff was a really interesting aspect. I just thought that was really interesting. I also absolutely loved Richard Dreyfuss as Hooper, the marine biologist. I thought he was so funny and charming, and I just loved how much he loved sharks and his knowledge about them, and he was just my favorite character. I just absolutely love him so much. I also really loved his little competitive friendship with Quint. I just loved their little banter and their sassy comebacks to each other, as well as them constantly trying to one-up each other, and I just thought that they were really funny together. Speaking of which, I thought Robert Shaw did an incredible job as Quint. I just really loved his character's personality, and the way he delivered lines, as well as his accent, was incredibly memorable, as well as all of those monologues. He did some incredible monologues, and I just thought he did a great job with that character. Okay, so let's talk about the storyline and some of my favorite scenes. First off, I absolutely loved that iconic but harrowing opening scene. Watching that poor girl get thrashed around like a rag doll above water is absolutely horrifying. But then when she finally gets pulled completely underwater, I really loved how the movie just silently sits there and watches the waterfront. I just thought that was really ominous and it really set the tone for the movie, and I just really loved that. In addition, the very first shot is an underwater point of view scene where the camera is the shark, and I'm just a huge fan of point of view scenes if I'm being honest, but especially it being underwater, and I just thought it was so beautiful. We get a lot of those shots in the first half of the movie, and I love that the very first thing that the movie opens up to is that underwater point of view shot. I just thought it was really beautiful. I also really loved how the story was structured in the first act. It was a lot of character development with Brody and his family, and also him communicating with his mayor, as well as his fellow police officers, and I just really loved not only the character development, but there's this slow building of tension as well, because you know that another shark attack is coming, and so I just thought that was really well done. And then that second shark attack happens, and wow, what an iconic scene. Not only do we get more of those underwater point of view shots that I love so much, but we get this incredible dolly zoom shot on Brody whenever he realizes that a shark attack is happening. It was shot incredibly well, and I also really loved how the movie didn't need any dialogue to convey how horrified he was in that moment. I just thought that was incredibly well done. I also loved all the scenes early on with Hooper right after he arrives at Amity Island. I really loved all the scenes where he dropped shark knowledge as well as his relationship with Brody as they try to understand how big the shark is, how to tackle the situation, how to handle the mayor, and I just thought those were some really great scenes. I also really loved the scene where they go out on the water for the first time together. I thought it was funny how Brody was like, I'm not nearly drunk enough to go out there. But once they're on the boat, they seem to have really great rapport, and I really love the two of them together. And then there's a third shark attack, and I really love this scene because this is the scene where we get to see the shark for the first time. I loved how we got to see the shark both underwater and above water as it was attacking. I mean, I absolutely love the look of the mechanical shark in this movie, so anytime I get to see it, I'm happy. But I just thought it was really cool. It was like a nice build-up where we just saw the fin, and then we actually get to see the face of the shark underneath the water, and then it goes above water, and I just love that scene so much. So after that last shark attack, Brody, Hooper, and Quint decide to go on their journey to hunt down and kill this monster. I also mentioned this before, but I absolutely loved the competitive aspect between Hooper and Quint. I also really like how Quint kept poking fun at Hooper occasionally. Like, for example, I really loved when Quint was asking Hooper about the underwater cage that he was bringing onto the boat, and he was all, are you really gonna get in that thing in the water with the shark? And then when Hooper replied, yeah, Quint just started singing Farewell and Adieu, Fair Spanish Ladies, and he indicates through the lyrics, so nevermore shall we see you again. I just really love Quint's dark humor at times, and that's definitely one of my favorites. And I also really love the scene when they're out at sea and they first get an encounter with the shark. So Brody is chucking bait into the water, and then he gets startled by the shark when he emerges out of nowhere, and then he shoots up. And then that classic line, you're gonna need a bigger boat. That scene is just so iconic, and I just loved it so much. I also really love that scene after dark where the trio are unwinding together as they wait for the shark to reveal itself. I just really love the rapport and banter, and I also really love how Hooper and Quinn start swapping stories over their many scars. Like, up until this point, they've just been bickering back and forth at each other, so it was really nice to see them have a bonding moment. And then they both had scars on their legs, and they're like, let's drink to each other's legs, and I just thought that was great. And then we get Quint's classic monologue about his harrowing experience of being stranded at sea after the USS Indianapolis sank, where he and his comrades are not only dealing with the horrifying situation of being stranded at sea, but also the sharks are picking them off one by one. So I think this is my favorite monologue of Quint's. I thought Robert did an incredible job in this scene. Like, it was just delivered so well, and it was so solemn and captivating at the same time. And I just really loved Quint's vivid description of not only the situation, but also of the sharks. I particularly enjoy the part of the monologue where Quint describes the shark's eyes, and I just think that scene was so well done, and it's one of my favorite scenes in the movie. And then the mood gets lifted when Hooper starts singing this song, show me the way to go home. I'm tired and I wanna go to bed. I just really love that scene because it feels so genuine, and I just really enjoy the camaraderie that's developed between these three characters. Like, at this point in the movie, they've already battled the shark several times, and I just feel like they've bonded, and I just really love that. And then we get that third act and the big battle with the shark, and holy hell was that intense. I really love when Hooper gets in the cage and then we get all of those underwater shots of the shark. Naturally, some scenes are with the mechanical shark, but I just think that it's so cool that they used actual footage of real great white sharks in this scene as well. Like, I just think sharks are so majestic, so I absolutely loved getting to see actual sharks in the movie. There's also this scene where an actual shark is thrashing on top of the cage, and I just think that's so cool. And then we get that infamous scene where the shark jumps onto the side of the boat, tilting it, and then unfortunately Quint slides straight down to its mouth. Like, that is such a brutal and bloody scene. Like, oh my god, I feel so bad for Quint every time I watch this movie. Like, what a way to go. I both feel for him and feel his pain alongside him during that scene. But I absolutely love that we get a win when Brody is able to shoot an air tank that's in the shark's mouth, and then that explosion, oh my god, was that awesome. And I also loved that ending and those final shots with Hooper and Brody. You can just feel their relief and sense of accomplishment through the screen. It's just such a satisfying ending. I also wanted to quickly touch on a couple more aspects about the movie that I really loved. So I absolutely love the score. Not only do we get the iconic bum 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 bum. I really love how minimalist it is, but at the same time it's so effective. Like, I remember the first time I watched this movie, that melody scared the hell out of me. But we also get some beautiful melodies throughout the movie, and I just thought it added so much to the experience. Plus, there's also a part in this movie where we get an instrumental version of Quint's song that he keeps singing, the Farewell and Adieu Fair Spanish Ladies song. I just really love that attention to detail, and I just thought the score as a whole was beautiful. I also have such a huge amount of respect for everything that went on behind the scenes with this movie. Like, a huge amount of this movie happens on water. So a lot of the filming happened on boats above water, as well as the underwater scenes. Plus, the special effects as well as the mechanical shark looked incredible. And I just, again, have so much respect for everyone that worked on this movie. And I can't imagine the work and effort that went into making this movie look as amazing as it does. And not only do I just love this movie so much for performances and the amazing storyline, but I really love all of the dry humor. The score is incredible, and the special effects and just the way that this movie was filmed and everything that went on behind the scenes make this movie so incredible for me. And it's just an absolute masterpiece and a timeless classic in my eyes. All right, so those are my thoughts on Jaws. Like I said, it's one of my favorite movies of all time and absolutely my favorite shark movie. I just think it's perfect and I love it so, so much. And it will forever hold a place in my heart, being the first horror movie that got me hooked onto the genre, as well as getting me fascinated with sharks. So what do you think about it? Do you have a favorite character or a favorite scene? Also, outside of Jaws, what's your favorite shark movie? Let me know in the comments. Also, this is just a reminder that I'm on Twitter, Instagram, and Letterboxd as well. So if you haven't already and you're interested in following me, the links are in my description box below. And as always, make sure to like and subscribe so Black Phillip knows you'd like to live deliciously. Thanks so much for watching, guys, and I'll see you again very soon in the next video. Bye!